IMG to kick off to Bishop Sycamore.
Do you want my hands like this, like that?
Just be natural. You don't have to try.
Coach Roy Johnson told us they had a number of Division I prospects.
Too high, tip, intercepted. Banks in a pick six. Into the end zone. He'll waltz in, and that will do it.
Do I look like a con artist?
How this happens got a lot of people scratching their head. Bishop Sycamore is not even a real high school.
They did not have teachers.
We really was pretty much on our own.
We didn't have any trainers. People were sharing helmets.
It was disgusting. I was literally sick to my stomach.
I can't believe this happened again.
My philosophy in business is do what the people who have the money do, even if you don't have the money.
Roy will tell you he's a liar.
He knew what to say, how to say it.
He's like, oh man, you gotta let that go. I said, I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna let go of his neck after I grab it.
I think I'm the most honest liar that I know.
How can you coach kids and you know it's not a school?
Roy would tell people, you're gonna be playing in Alabama.
He was just selling me a dream.
Ohio was embarrassed by this. They called the thing explicitly a scam. And then said they couldn't do a damn thing about it.
Bishop Sycamore does not happen if there wasn't an abundance of money in high school sports.
Let's go!
Did I break a law? Is it illegal? Am I in jail? We're on ESPN. Win, lose, or draw, we win.
This is not what we were supposed to create.
How do I tell my mama that coach wants me to do the same stuff that you try to get me away from?
You say you care about it, but did you really?
Can we take a break? That's some bullshit.
1, 2, 3, all right!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Breeze. Breezeway Productions' The Breeze, where we bring you the latest in independent films and film festival news. And we have a documentary here that first came on my radar when it screened at the Tribeca Film Festival. The film is called BS High, a documentary about some very interesting subject matter. And we have with us today the directors, Martin Desmond Roe and Travon to talk about the doc. How are you, gentlemen?
Good, how are you?
Yeah. Right on. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. So first, tell me a little bit about BS High.
Do you want to take it, Trey?
Sure. I mean, BS High is basically the story of Bishop Sycamore High School playing IMG Academy on ESPN in 2021 at the Ohio at Canton Football Hall of Fame. And during that game, people slowly realizing that Bishop Sycamore wasn't a real school as they were getting demolished 58-0 by IMG Academy, and the fallout from being exposed. And so we examined what happened through the people who were there, the people who did it, the coach, the players, the parents, and the fallout from that experience.
I thought it was super interesting. Yeah, go ahead, Desmond. Martin.
Yeah, in many ways, it's the story of one man as well. It's very much the story of Roy Johnson, who is the coach who put together Bishop Sycamore, high school, such as it is. It's not a high school. It's a fake, very much a fake high school, and it's kind of a portrait of a con man. Like, that's how we talk about it amongst ourselves. This is the story of a man who decided he was going to try and build a fake school so that he could get a football team, and he succeeded too well, too quickly, and his whole world fell apart as a result.
That's so wild to even hear about. Like, how is this a concept that he, dreamed up or thought of? Why would you do this? What was the motivation behind creating something like this?
Roy's a career con man. I don't think he would argue against that. The very first thing he said to us in our very first interview, he sat down and he looked at one of the camera guys, one of the sort of young camera crew, and he said, "Do I look like a con man?" And the first thing out of his mouth, or do I look like a regular, normal person? So Roy's had a career of living on the wrong side of what most of us would consider standard morality. And we track part of the way this kind of came about in the film, but long story short, at one point the con made sense. At one point, very early on, there were a couple of churches involved that were going to give some land. There was a sort of insurance scheme where people in churches were going to buy insurance policies and then leave life insurance policies and then leave part of that to this new school that was being founded. But that fell apart almost immediately because everyone realized Roy's a liar and a con man. But Roy couldn't stop because he liked the attention. He liked, he was a big dog in this little town because he could put games together. Nobody wants to play these really big teams. You have this tier of high school football like the IMGs of the footballing world, and middle class teams and lower class teams don't want to play them. They don't want to get humiliated and demolished. They don't want to put their 17-year-old kids against kids that are 3 times the size. Roy didn't care. Roy didn't give 2 hoots about sending these kids out to get smashed, and so he had a really big use within this ecosystem, and as a result he became quite celebrated, and so he loved the attention. He had dreams of being the next big high school coach.
Wow. So that brings me to my next question. I'm curious if you can reflect on it, Travon, was about the kids. We talk about the kids that are the players, the backbone of the team, basically what makes Bishop Sycamore like a team. How did they get involved in this?
I mean, they were very heavily recruited by Roy. Like, Roy very much picked his targets, knew exactly what kind of kids he needed to recruit for this to work, because they were the most vulnerable in terms of believing that they could do something that was probably not going to happen for them. And he was able to best sell them the dream on that becoming a reality, even though they knew the chances were slim, and he knew the chances were slim. And so he actively recruited them on social media. He recruited them in the neighborhoods all across the country, and convinced them to move to Ohio.
That's an interesting sell. How did you talk to the parents? Did the kids just do it themselves, or do you have to convince them to do all of that? That's a lot of people for a team.
Yeah, no, he talked to parents, he talked to players. The parents were kind of his last hurdle with a lot of them, which is they would have to be sold the same dream he sold the kids, and a lot of them, because of wanting their kids to be able to have that opportunity, would agree and let their kids go do it, because at the time the dream he was selling them was not very different from what they would be told if they were being recruited by an IMG or by any of the big football academies.
So he took the script of what they would normally say at a regular school, used that, and then everybody fell for it to
Pretty
make
much.
this team. That's wild.
Yeah. He had these again from that first year when there was some actual possibility of it being real. They had designed what they wanted the school to be like, this sort of $250 million campus with swimming pools on the roof and pools for the kids to go fishing, which was never even remotely possible. But he had all this kind of armada of realistic looking kind of things, and Roy is an extraordinarily charming salesman. You know what I mean? He's so much fun to listen to. If he wasn't lying and stealing, he would be a delight at a dinner party.
How did the agreement get made to have this documentary come to life if the whole thing is an expose on an individual that's centered around a con? Did you say do you want to do this? And he was like, yeah, because it's attention, which is what he's liked.
Well, we got brought on by the production companies that kind of got him on board. And when the very first time, you know how it works, sort of production companies sometimes find subjects and then they reach out to directors and be like, are you interested in this? And we were like, yeah, maybe. And then we spoke to him, and he actually, a little bit like me right now, we did a FaceTime with him, and he was in a car, and he just started admitting to crimes to strangers on a phone call, who we were he admitted, it's in the film a little bit, but he admitted to this con about how he would rent hotels. And the very first time he tried to rent hotels for the kids to stay in for the season, one of them said, do you want to pay weekly or do you want to get an invoice at the end of the stay? And he was like, wait, I could get it on credit and never pay. So I just started doing that. And he just told us this as we were complete strangers. We weren't even on the job at that point, right? Like, we were just strangers considering engaging on this project and engaging with him. And we called the people and we're like, we will absolutely do this job. This guy just wants to tell us, he wants to tell the world everything. You know what I mean? He has no filter, no shame, no guilt, no regret. He just loves the attention. So as soon as...
Does he have a legal team? I mean, it sounds like if you just throwing out all this stuff on camera, like, oh, it's a little rough.
Travon doesn't even know this yet because I just got the text message about an hour ago. Ben Faree, who is a character in the movie, who's been obsessed with Roy for about 7-8 years. He was the first person to realize what Roy was doing years before it all came to light, and was tracking him down and trying to get people to care, and nobody cared until it became a national news story. Anyway, he follows Roy's life like a hawk. He texted me this morning that Roy declared bankruptcy yesterday, but Roy declared it in federal court for no good reason, and has no lawyer, has no legal representation, filed it himself, filed it incorrectly, so will now face fines for filing it incorrectly. The man is bananas.
Yeah, I'd say he's on a roller coaster ride and the ride isn't even finished yet, and he's just going full speed off the rails, and like, I guess God bless, and who knows where he'll land, but yikes. That's why I was just so captivated by it, because the subject matter is so wild. I mean, like, who comes up with something like this? Anyway, you did screen at Tribeca, and I did see that there were also some NFL players and some well-known names that attended for this. Do you have interest, or do they have interest, rather, in the world of sports about this subject? They came out, wanted to see it. Like, how is the word being spread about it? Three of you guys.
I mean, it wasn't so much. I don't think that it was a challenge to spread the word, because it was a story that so many people had been following and so many people were just enamored by. But Michael Strahan is one of our producers, Adam McKay is one of our producers, and that makes it a lot easier for people to pay attention, especially when you're on HBO. And so Michael being on GMA and being an ex-NFL player and Hall of Famer, is he in the Hall of Fame yet, or future Hall of Famer? That made it a lot easier for people to take notice and pay attention to the film itself, even beyond having been in love with the story. Because every time anything would come out regarding the film over the course of us making it, the response was always people just like clamoring for the movie, like, can't wait to see this. Like, even though it's coming out 2 years later, people are still really excited for it.
I was one of them. Yes. Go ahead.
I'll just say, if you try and if you go on Twitter and try and obviously we were curious after it's screened at Tribeca, after the trailer came out, kind of like on Twitter, like searching for the name of the film or searching for Bishop Sycamore. There are literally hundreds, if not maybe thousands, of Twitter accounts that are called like Bishop Sycamore Athletic Director or Head of PR for Bishop Sycamore. People, like, it was such a crazy viral story for like a week. As more and more wild things came out, the players were overage, there was no training facilities, they weren't fed, like all this kind of crazy stuff that people just ate it up. And actually Travon tweeted that day or like the next day, he was like, if anyone ever makes a documentary about this, it's going to be called BS High. and then we ended up making it, so it's pretty funny.
I guess, yeah, I'm one of the people that wasn't aware. I don't tweet. I do have Strahan's jersey in my closet. It definitely will be a Hall of Famer, as I am a diehard fan. And I'm happy to see that he's a part of the film as well. And it's definitely going to keep picking up traction after Tribeca screening. And, like I said in the beginning, I was trying to get you guys for a long time to talk about it. So BS High, tell me, it's going to be streaming August 23rd on HBO Max. And where can people go to find out more about it? Do you guys have socials, like a Twitter account, places that people can go to check it out some more?
Yeah, it'll be on HBO Max on August 23rd, and our socials, mine being at Travon on pretty much everything.
And just
And
go check out Travon's. He's the social media star. But also two other quick shout outs. Ben Faree and Andrew King, who are in the film, they're the kind of investigative team who put the story together. They have a book that's going to drop next week if you want to learn more. And what they called awful
announcing.
Awful Announcing. They did a lot of really amazing research into this, and they've got a bunch of really great articles worth going and looking at. But don't do either of those before you watch our film, please.
Sure. I mean, it's football season. Like I was saying earlier, football's on everybody's mind. Amazing timing for the release, and I always love to see the new documentaries that are coming out. So definitely make sure to check out BS High. And I want to thank both of you, Travon Free and Martin Desmond Roe, to come on the show, The Breeze, to talk about BS High.
Alex, you have an amazing voice. Before you let us go, very soothing, and I was like, wow, this is really fun to listen to you. Thank you.
Thank you. You can find us on Pandora or Spotify Music or any of those audio platforms. And if anyone does hear this and enjoys the voice, give me a shout. BreezewayProds@gmail.com. Thank you.